Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm David. I just want to start by saying thank you to all of my subscribers. It's incredible how many I've got now, over 3,000, which is just amazing. I never thought I'd get anywhere near that number. So yeah, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're doing something slightly different to what I've been doing in previous videos. For those of you who don't know, I don't really have much space where I live at work, and this led me to really spending a lot of time designing a modular railway that I can then build in sections and put together when I eventually get my own house or flat or somewhere with a garage or a shed or something like that. And this is how I've been proceeding for the past year or so, just building these modules, working on the scenery, and hoping that one day I'll be able to join it all together. The layout I've designed is actually quite big, and the design has evolved over the past couple of years as well. So it's now going to be, I believe, 18 feet by 12 foot roughly, and it's going to feature a nice long scenic section with a viaduct and some just open country and village scenery. Then at the other end is a traction maintenance depot or motive power depot. This is going to have a turntable, a steam shed, a diesel shed, and plenty of space to display trains. A really large storage yard over at one end, which will all be automated, and this will allow trains to run around the loop completely automated without me controlling them. And then above this, on a raised level, is going to be a branch line station. Now all of this is my grand plan for when I finally get enough space to put it all together. But this got me thinking a while ago. When I was working on the last two modules, I didn't really have enough space to put them up. So I could fit the 8-foot section as it was then, so two 4-foot sections, into the spare room at my parents' house to work on it. But if I wanted to add one more section to make the full 12-foot run, there just was no room anywhere for me to work on it. So then I started thinking, where is there space for me to work on 3 modules at once? And then I started thinking about the loft. Now I had been trying to avoid doing any railway work in the loft at all, as those of you who've got loft railways will know, they're really not the best place to work. The temperature changes are really extreme, from the high temperatures in the summer to the lows in winter, and this can cause all sorts of problems for your track work in particular. But I slowly started thinking over the past couple of months, the layout's stored in the loft anyway. It's going through all of those temperature changes anyway. And then to work on it, I have to drag it down the loft ladder, which means the board gets dinged and bumped, and I'm often knocking trees off or scratching the paintwork on the fascia and then having to touch that up the next time I put it back in the loft. So yeah, it's not really a good system either way. So I started thinking, would it really be so bad if I put the railway in the loft? Now this led me to coming up with all sorts of plans and designs. The loft unfortunately isn't big enough for the final layout, so I can't fit the 17 or 18 feet by 12 foot layout in the loft. But what I can fit is the 12-foot scenic section, the full storage yard, so this will actually allow me to set up all the automation of the storage yard with all the point work and the different sidings and things, and then also hopefully I can fit the branch line station above the storage yard. So this gives me plenty to work on. I can have trains running in a circle so I can test all my rolling stock and really unleash it. So in this video what I'm going to be doing is getting the loft from the state it's currently in, which is a little bit of a mess in a storage area, and then turning it into, by the end of the video, a full circuit of track with trains running around the outside. You can see I've got 3 scenic modules along one side, the storage yard, and then plenty of nice modelling storage and a desk. For anyone concerned throughout this video about the loft hatch, I did address this actually after I filmed all of this video. I was actually at my parents' for a fortnight as I was away from work, which meant I got quite a few different bits and bobs done, and they'll all be in future videos. But one of those things I did do, for anyone concerned, is I built a frame around the loft hatch, which means I can't fall down the loft hatch by reversing backwards. But that doesn't appear in this video, that's actually going to be in a future video. Anyway, I hope you enjoy getting the loft from bare loft all the way up to having trains running in a circle. Okay guys, so you join me in the loft. I'm halfway through doing a load of work to the loft. You can see there are the first 2 modules of the layout. If I come over here, boarded that all out for storage, started hanging some fabric down here. This is weed membrane. This will just stop the dust from the insulation getting through. Started putting some storage up on these shelves that are already here. You can see the fabric behind as well. See, I boarded out this section here as well. A mad storage table at the moment. And I've just done some work tidying up some wiring that's going on over here. So some other jobs I need to do before I can really crack on with the railway. Or I might do them at the same time as each other. I'm going to add some electricity up here. At the moment all there is just the one light bulb. I'm going to change that and put a load more light fittings up here. Also moving the light switch to just down there, which I've already pre-wired. I just need to get that sorted out. It's not live yet or anything. The wire just comes in under the floorboards, ready to go. I'm going to put some plug sockets up here, because at the moment I have to use extension leads. Okay, so it's a day or two later. We have plenty of progress. So I've got a desk that I've just put up over here. This is really, really solid. It's made of timber board, which you can get from Wicks. It's slightly more expensive than plywood, but I think it gives a really nice finish. It just looks like planks of wood on studwork timber, and that's screwed to the floor and to that post there, so it's nice and solid. Got plug sockets in. They're in and working. Off a 13 amp spur there. Again, all in accordance with regulations. You can see the first two boards are in. So I actually put some uprights in, horizontals and another upright. And the first two boards just sit on that. At the moment they're covered over with some more of this weed membrane or anti-weed membrane, just to keep them from getting dusty. You can see on the floor I've put down the old matting that I had back in the garage when I had the railway in there. We've got another plug socket in there. You can see looking up at the ceiling, I've put in some lights. So we've now got 4 bulbs up here, making it nice and bright. And again, they're wired into a light switch just here. So yeah, it's all coming together. And then the shelves, just the same as they were before. Having to only work small stints at a time, an hour or so at a time, then I pop downstairs, because it's currently 27.5 degrees. It was 29.5 this afternoon. Yeah, all good fun. Okay, so you join me on the kitchen floor, just giving it a quick clean. And this is a process you've seen me do several times before, so I'm not going to film it in too much detail. But I'm just going to pin up, I've got plywood strips, 100mm wide, 18mm ply, 100mm deep. Spaces there, end pieces there, 9mm ply for the top, and I'm just going to glue and pin it together with the nail gun. Okay, so you join me upstairs, and that first board is pinned up, just gluing. And it will sit roughly there on top of the table that used to support the water heater or water tank. I'm going to be putting more of this black fabric around the back here, just to block out some more of the, there's some storage there, then there's also just a lot of that insulation I don't want getting in there. If we move down here, I've started a support structure, so obviously we've got a table over there supporting that board. This board, I've just put some uprights in, horizontal there, and then again an upright, horizontal there. That one's only supporting the back corner of the board, as the front edge will be bolted to the end of this Scenic board. Yeah, so my idea is the layout will go across here. It'll be removable, obviously, to get to the solar panel box. You'll be able to dive underneath and hit any of the switches relatively easily. It'll just have a sort of curtain along here, again hiding off that insulation foam, so we can get less particles up in the air of the fiberglass. At some point the loft may be re-insulated or something, but for now we're just sticking with the original fiberglass from when it was built. So my idea is, again, under the layout I'm hanging a lot of this weed membrane, and that just stops it getting to the air. Okay, so it's a while later, and that second storage yard board is in, just temporarily. I've got a couple of screws holding it up there, a couple of screws holding it together here. You can see there's a shim there, and then the original board just on top of the table there. I did reach a dilemma though. In my plans there should be a 5-foot section going from here to around here, which has the sort of, it curves around and then the throat of the fiddle yard comes in, finishing over here. But obviously all of this is in the way. But instead what I'm going to do is put a temporary board in here. So storage yard boards 1 and 2 will be the final ones that will go on to the future layout whenever I move it into a shed or a loft or a future house of my own when I move it out of my parents' house. This bit here will just be temporary to allow me to run it whilst it's at my parents' house in the loft. Run along the shelf before disappearing behind here, and then it's going to run along the outside. Now we're over here, you can see I've also finished the next scenic board, or the baseboard for the next scenic board. So you can see the track's going to run along here before starting to curve round, and again that will just run off onto a non-scenic just loop around there. On the future layout, when this goes into its final destination, wherever that may be, this is going to be where the whole TMD is, and it's going to be huge, 3 foot deep, 12 foot wide, but obviously there's no room for that here. It's just the end of the loft. So I'm going to have some temporary tracks on a bit of ply running around there underneath. But yeah, so we've got the scenic section done. Slightly disappointingly, back scenes don't match up, and I have no idea why. I thought everything was flush and square, it all should be. So I'm going to see if it's something to do with the way this one's slotted in, because this one's still loose. I'm going to be pinning that in eventually. But yeah, for some reason there's a massive gap. I might end up just putting a huge tree here or something. I'll find some solution. But yeah, I was going to film the making of this, but then I figured you've seen me do it 2 other times in great detail. So yeah, all I did was a bottom framework, put the top on, obviously with the notches in, so the notch of the embankment here, notch of the track there, and then you've got a back scene, and then just behind is the small section that'll be for the incline. Will be a Woodland Scenics foam riser going all the way back there. You'll notice as well there's no lighting rig for this board yet, as I've actually got to go out and buy some more timber, and then I can make up the next bit of lighting rig as well. What I've got here today is the DCC Concepts alignment dowels. They're really nice. They're machined aluminium, I believe, and they're press fit rather than having to screw them into place. So you've got a male and a female, and they just mount together really nicely. So what I've already done is, when those boards were temporarily screwed together, I've drilled through 2 3mm holes, which I believe is there and there, making sure they're the 3mm holes and not screw holes from when I temporarily fixed it. So they recommend a 3mm pilot hole. Then what you do is you come back with a 19mm bit and you drill it out just so the flange, this end bit here, just will fit flush. And then you come back with a 13mm, and that will allow the actual barrel of the fitting to fit. I've got the boards mounted up. I've got some bolts in that one. If you can't tell by the number of bolt holes, it took me a while to find somewhere that wasn't hidden by the scenery. There's just some complex shapes down here. So I had the first bolt, it was behind this bit of back scene, I couldn't get to it. The next bolt was just straight into wood. I couldn't get to it from the other side. Eventually found some bolt holes. And then over here I've put some brackets either side to hold it on. Slight bit of lip there, I've just been sanding that smooth, and it's now time to put the cork on. So this is from, I believe it's SBD UK. That rings a bell, I think it's that one. I'm just sick of buying small bits of cork at a time, so I think this was £40 or £50. I'll put the exact detail on the screen, and it's probably all the cork I'll need for this layout on one roll. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll out cork all across here, glue it down, and then over on the next scenic module, I'm just going to put the cork where the track needs to go. Okay, so that's the cork all glued down. You can see just how much space I've got to work with here. I think it's 12 foot long by 2 foot wide. Also I need to build this temporary extension that will take it over onto that shelf there, which is actually going to form the temporary track bed going around that way. But yeah, so it's pretty much time to start laying track. My initial idea is just to run 2 lines straight down the middle and get double tracks going around the outside of the room. Apologies for the camera motion there. Just temporarily, so I can get some trains running. I'm going to really dodgily wire it up, get them moving, and then I can slowly add all of the sidings in here. There's going to be quite a few, and I've got a lot of electrical work to be doing. Getting the PCBs soldered up for the Merg equipment to get all the block detection done, and point control and stuff. But you'll notice I've got some of my track here, so I've got all my old points. There's a couple more downstairs from the old layouts. I've got 2 boxes, brand new boxes, code 100 flex track, as the storage yard will be code 100, even though the main layout is code 75 Bullhead. And then over here you can see this is something I worked on last night. It's just really, it's a scissor crossing with a double slip on one end, and this will sit somewhere around there, I believe, and it just forms the entrance to the storage yard, allowing me to cross in either direction. So if I've got something in a storage loop here and I want it to go that way on that main line, it can cross over, and if I've got something on this main line and I want to come into these storage loops here, it can cross over, and then this just forms the start of the ladder. So for example, if I just grab a couple of points, it'll look something like that. But that will be in probably several days' time. For now, what I'm going to focus on though is I'm going to give this a test just to make sure I've soldered it all up properly. So I actually took a Peco small crossing, cut it to pieces, literally just to get the frogs out the middle. And then we've got 3 points and 1 double slip, all soldered together. So I'm just going to set up some sort of test rig to test that this works in every direction. Might run the Accurascale class 37 over it, as that is sensitive to changes in track. When I'm happy that works, I will pin it in its exact position, and then I can start laying some more track. Okay, so I've tested the junction fully. I've done some wiring work as well, just rewiring the frogs to each other. I won't go into it because this is a very specific case, but I've just been testing it all with, made up a little Merg track tester, then also using a multimeter just to test continuity. I've jerry-rigged it up with some cable clips at the end there, and you can see I've got 2 test trains here. I've got my Class 08 with a little works train, so that's just full of track pins and fish plates, as I will be pinning down the track in the storage yard just for ease. It takes ages waiting for glue to dry when you're laying track, and I thought for storage yard might as well just use pins. And then just the Class 37 there. Can't run it over the middle of the junction at the moment, as I've had to put some liquid electrical tape on 2 of the frogs as they were shorting for some reason. Not sure why, but I've put some liquid electrical tape on, which is just some basically rubber insulation, and when that dries I'll be able to install this properly. But I can show you, I'll do it without sound so I don't want to spoil the sound for later on. The Accurascale Class 37, just beautifully running across the point work here. Okay, so now that I know this works, I'm going to add some wires, some dropper wires, find the place that it needs to go, I think it's around here, and pin it in place after drilling some holes for point motors, and then I can fit the curve that comes off from the storage yard and marries up with the point work. Okay, so it's a while later. This ended up being more of a faff than I thought it would be, but that junction is in place, temporarily wired up underneath. Again, just the crocodile clips linking it to the bus wire on that board, but it's power enough for now to do some testing. These 2 bits of flexi are just temporary, just for testing, but all of this, so from the points round, is pinned in place. So The inner curve here is set track, it's radius 3, and then I've just used these spacers from goldenvalleyhobbies.com to set a set distance and track that curve along the outside. I've got 2 of my longest coaches here. They're both Hawksworth brake composites. There's one there and there's one down there, and they are my longest coaches. And I've just been testing to make sure it all fits around the curve. But now it's time to pay my attention to this board here. So what I need to do is put in some alignment dowels to line this up, and then it'll be time to lay some track. So I popped to Pars in Lowestoft this afternoon. Really good little model shop. And I've just bought myself some more Bullhead Flexi. So what I'm going to do is put some alignment dowels in, then put down some cork, and then we can put these 2 bits of track in. This tunnel portal here is from a company called Skyrotrex, I believe, something like that, and it's a resin casting. I've trimmed it down on this side. It's snapped in the middle in the post. That's going to sit roughly there, very roughly, and we're going to have the hill up here coming down into a cutting, then off onto the viaduct. Okay, so it's the next day, and I got those alignment dowels in, but to put the alignment dowels in, I first needed to add a fascia at the front, and that's just so that this bracket here, the split pin hinge, could line up. So we've got a fascia coming from starting low here, then slopes up here, following the line of the hill. And then I've also laid down some cork. Now you can see we've got the 2 test trains lining up to cross over onto the board. So I think it's time to glue down some flexi. So what I'm going to do is lay down some flexi on this track here, the outer track, get that to a point where it's glued down and solid. Then I'll use again a spacer tool to set it perfectly along the inside track, get that all glued down, and then we'll do some temporary wiring and give it a test. Okay, so once again it's the next day, and unfortunately I didn't actually feel very much yesterday. I was just basically trying to get some stuff done, as well as getting distracted with other things. But no, so I got this flexi laid, so Bullhead Flexi. It's got some dropper wires just in here, temporarily, again, crocodile clipped onto the next board. You can see the tunnel portal roughly in place where it's going to go there, not glued in or anything. That just gives a general idea. I've given this all a test with various wagons and locos going across the join, and then we come down onto the scenic section. So looking back then at the storage yard, and some progress has been made. I've put in another point there, just the dropper wires and stuff are in temporarily wired up. 2 straight bits of flexi along here, these are just temporary, just to see the location. 3rd radius curve there with roughly 4th-ish on the outside, going around to see the test train there, onto this temporary board. So this is just a bit of plywood cut to shape, some cork on top, roughly screwed in, you can see with a little batten there. So I will be putting the sleepers across here, copper clad sleepers, there we go, get my words out, and I will be putting some bolts through here. Probably won't bother with alignment dowels or anything just yet, but I will replace the screws with bolts just to make it removable, so I can remove the storage yard board for wiring. Anyway, moving on, so we've got just behind here 3-way point and a double slip, and then we work onto what was some sort of bookshelf or something put in by the previous owner. So what I have done is put it on a slight incline, because if you remember, the viaduct seen on the other side is at about 1.5% incline, so this needs to be about 1.5 as well. Let's get up to the same level over there. I will then be working my way around here, again on a very slight bit of an incline. Excuse the mess on my desk, I do really need to tidy up here. So speaking of going around this corner then, you can see there's a big mess there in the black sheeting. That's because I've been preparing today this piece here. So this is 18mm ply in a sort of L shape, hockey stick shape. And then I've put 5.5mm, so 5.5mm ply on the edge just to strengthen it, stiffen it, and also prevent any falling trains from falling to their doom. And this is the perfect shape to connect to the end of the bookshelf and to go around that corner and end about there, which means I have one board left. You can see there's a bit of ply there. I'm just testing out for size. Got to fill a gap here, probably with a similar thing, so 18mm track bed, 5mm sides, and it's going to be a funky shape just to get the curves in. and then we'll be able to run some trains in a circle. It's a little while later, and I've just got this curved section in, so you can see the strengthening bits on the sides, and it comes through there. I just need to pin up that black cloth again and neaten up where it goes through. And then coming this way again, excuse the messy desk and the messy storage area. You can see I've just put in some 18mm ply here, coming through and onto the scenic section. If you look down here, as well as all the messy storage, you can see the way I've supported it is just from the roof battens, from the joists, down and across, and it seems pretty solid. Again, when I add the 5mm along here, it will stop it bowing in any way, and I think this is a really good temporary solution just to get a circuit track in the loft. Okay, so it's the next day, and I'll admit I was not brave and / stupid enough to film the first train around the circuit, but I do have a circle of track. So you can see I fitted that bit of plywood in. I've got the strengthening sides / barriers, and then the same again, these L-shaped girders holding it up. Then that just comes around onto the layout, and there is a couple trains running, so you'll see that come round in just a second. What I've also done is rig up, there's a CCTV camera there, the same old one I had on the old layout, and then just over here I've got a nice little monitor, so you can see if you look at that, there is actually a train coming. That's the 08 shunter hauling a goods train. If we look down there, there it is. And there is my Class 52 Western with a nice long passenger train. So what I'm going to do, I've had a bit of a tidy up, but I'm going to continue to tidy up. I'm going to put some black cloth along here, going to paint the fascias, and just generally tidy up the room a little bit more. And then I'll do some running shots. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed seeing the progress of building baseboards and creating a loop of track. Slightly dry video compared to others, as it's literally just woodwork, tidying up, laying track, but we did get some trains running in the end. So the next video I'm going to upload will probably be a scenery video. So I did do quite a bit of scenics on the 2 scenic modules that are already there, and I started the scenery on the 3rd scenic module. And I've also got planned a back scene video showing how I've painted the back scene from start to finish for those 2 modules. So yeah, thank you very, very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.